this is my definitional speech on nightmares and night terrors. This is my audience, my friend and my husband. This is my informal outline with nothing on the back, and my works cited. Got my information from the North American Journal of Psychology and the Journal of General Psychology. Nightmares and night terrors. When I was a young little girl, I would wake up in the middle of the night crying and screaming with my mom trying to console me. My mom would call them nightmares. I'm sure that you all have had a nightmare at some point in your life. Although nightmares and night terrors are often confused with each other. A nightmare is a dream that will wake you up moaning and mumbling with fear during the rapid eye movement sleep, also known as REM. When somebody is having a nightmare, they wake up moaning and mumbling, and most oftentimes you cannot understand what the person is saying. When having a nightmare, you recall the dream that you had to instill the fear, most often the next day as well. A nightmare usually occurs between 3 and 6 hours after you fall asleep. When having a nightmare, your sweat increases as well as your heart rate. A person having a nightmare is often consoled, which is a good idea. Having a nightmare, you recall the dream that you had, and you are fully awake. When having a nightmare, it is very hard to fall back asleep, even after being consoled, because of the fear that you would have that dream again. For example, in 2006, I deployed to Afghanistan with my unit in the United States Army. When I came back, I had nightmares almost nearly every night. I would wake up crying and screaming and talking as if I was overseas. My husband would have to hug me and console me, telling me it was okay and we were not deployed anymore. Night terrors occur during non-REM sleep and will not wake you up, which leave you with no recollection of the fear. A person having a night terror, which is usually a child, ages 5 and under, will wake up screaming and yelling and making tons of movements which have no meaning. A night terror usually occurs between 1 and 2 hours after falling asleep. Consoling somebody that is having a night terror will not do any good. A person having a night terror is not fully awake, and in that case will not have any recollection of what made them have the fear. They will not be able to respond to you since they are not awake. Most oftentimes, they do not even remember having a terror that night or even the next day. A night terror is actually confusion in the transferring from one stage of sleep to the next. For example, my daughter, who was 3 years old at the time, would have night terrors quite often. I thought they were nightmares. Although, the more I look at it, my daughter was unconsolable. She would cry for almost a half an hour and then let herself go back to sleep on her own. I asked her doctor, and she said because she is not awake and has no recollection of what's going on, it is a night terror, not a nightmare. Nightmares and night terrors are often confused with each other. Nightmare is a dream that you will wake up moaning and mumbling with fear during your rapid eye movement sleep. And a night terror, on the other hand, occurs during non-REM sleep and will not wake you up fully, which will leave you with no recollection of the fear.